Welcome to the Firewall Analyzer Training Part 2 Season 4. Before we start, I would like to know if you can hear me and see the presentation. Please confirm the same by commenting in the chat panel. A brief introduction about myself. I'm Mauli Srinivasan, product expert and Firewall Analyzer. I have more than 6 years experience in product marketing. So let us look at what we're going to cover today. First, we are going to look at how to fetch syslogs from your firewall into the firewall analyzer. Once the syslogs are fetched, the firewall analyzer starts to generate various reports. So we're going to look at what those reports are and how the same can be used in real time. Post this, we are going to look at security analytics and traffic analytics in detail. Finally, we are also going to cover how to set alarm notifications for various triggers. In short, we first need to install Firewall Analyzer, fetch syslogs from the firewall. Once syslogs are fetched, Firewall Analyzer starts to generate reports, and then alarms can be set for various triggers. So before we install Firewall Analyzer, first you need to configure your device to send syslogs via the UDP port 1514. In case the port 1514 is not free, an alternate free port needs to be selected. Once Firewall Analyzer is installed, Firewall Analyzer must be directed to receive syslogs from this new port. Given here is a sample screenshot of how to configure in a Cisco ASA device. This PPT will be shared with you, so you can go through this page in detail. So listed here is the basic installation requirement. Firewall Analyzer can be installed on Windows or Linux system. All the syslogs received by Firewall Analyzer by default is stored in PostgreSDB. If needed, you can also configure the syslogs to be stored in the MS SQL server. The disk space and the RAM size mentioned here are the minimum requirements. The same might vary depending on the number of devices being analyzed and the number of devices sending log information to Firewall Analyzer. With this basic requirement fulfilled, you can install Firewall Analyzer. So first, download Firewall Analyzer for Windows or Linux, 64-bit or 32-bit according to the requirement. If you're a global enterprise, download the Enterprise Edition, execute the binary file, and post installation access the web client through the web browser. Log in using the default username and password, that is admin and admin. As I mentioned before, Firewall Analyzer by default listens to syslogs forwarded at port 1514. Apart from this, port number 80 is Firewall Analyzer's web server port. Port number 13306 is the port for the DB. By default, Firewall Analyzer stores syslogs in Postgres. There are two ways to export syslogs to Firewall Analyzer. Number one, as mentioned before, the first way is to configure the firewall device to forward syslogs in the port 1514. The second way is to import log files. So this is shown in detail in the next slide. So you can import the logs from a local host or a remote host. Let me show you how this is done in the product UI. So this is Firewall Analyzer product UI. So in order to import logs, you need to go to settings and under system, click on imported log files. So once you enter this, click on import log, and as I mentioned before, you can either import the logs from a local host or you can import logs from a remote host and click on import. Once your logs are imported, Firewall Analyzer will start to generate firewall reports. Let us look at the mechanism of Firewall Analyzer. So Firewall Analyzer can analyze syslogs from more than 50 vendors. A few major vendors have been listed here. Not only this, apart from firewalls, Firewall Analyzer can also analyze syslogs from multiple network security devices like IDS, IPS, VPN, and proxy server. So once the syslogs are forwarded from the mentioned network security device, the syslogs are archived and any alarm notifications that are set are sent in real time. Parallelly, the syslogs are normalized, stored in the DB, and then Firewall Analyzer starts to generate syslog-based security and traffic reports. Let us look at what reports are generated in the next slide. Firewall Analyzer provides a wide range of reports. So the first is the dashboard and inventory report. These reports give a high-level overview on all the firewall statistics. Next is the firewall report. So the firewall report is a combination of firewall security and traffic analytics. Next is the proxy server report. So these are reports generated by analyzing squid proxy servers. Next is the custom report. So in case if you want to customize the log report, the same can be done using the custom reports. Finally, you can perform forensic log analysis using the search report. So for everything, for every report, I'll explain to you how it is shown in Firewall Analyzer and will also give a use case as to see how the same report can be used in a real-time application. So as I mentioned before, the dashboard is an aggregated report which provides the following: firewall overview report, which is nothing but a high-level overview of firewall traffic statistics, security statistics, and system performance. Next is the live traffic report. So you get live traffic data through individual firewalls. You also have VPN report, which provides active VPN user list and VPN usage details. And then you also get an overview of all the rules in firewall, the users and cloud services accessed by those users. The inventory report, on the other hand, is an individual device-based report, which gives a status on each firewall device configured in Firewall Analyzer, all the interfaces connected to the configured firewall device, users who have generated traffic via the configured firewall device, cloud services which have been used via the firewall device, and finally rules that have been triggered in the firewall. Let us look at how the report looks in the product UI. So click on dashboard. So first is the dashboard. Under the dashboard you have two reports, that is, one is the overview report, and the overview report can be split into firewall summary. So the firewall summary is a high-level overview of all traffic and security statistics. Next is the system performance. So in system performance, the system performance provides an overview of CPU utilization, memory utilization, disk space monitor, logs per second, connection count, and thread count. And then, as I mentioned before, you also get the live traffic report under the dashboard, which is the live traffic statistics of each and every firewall device, the cloud applications that have been accessed via firewall devices, the users who have generated traffic via all the firewall devices, the VPN, the active VPN users, and the VPN traffic that has been generated, the rule, and the security, that is all the security details as to it is an overview of the security attacks or the security events that have happened in all the firewalls. Next, so this comprises of the dashboard. Next, we move on to the inventory. So from the inventory, you get a status on each firewall device configured in Firewall Analyzer. So as I mentioned before, inventory is an individual firewall based reports are generated. So for every firewall, you get a specific report. So these are the firewalls that have been configured in Firewall Analyzer. And next is the interfaces. So the interfaces that have been configured under these firewall devices are listed here. The users who have generated traffic via these firewalls, the cloud services, and finally the use rules. Now let us look at a use case for the inventory and dashboard reports. So those who attended the previous webinar would know who Jim is. For people who have freshly joined this session, Jim is a new security admin who has joined a company, and his company has certain network security issues. As a security admin, Jim has been given various tasks to solve these issues. So let us look at the first task that has been allocated to Jim. In Jim's company, there have been a lot of attacks that have taken place using a single firewall. He has been asked to investigate everything about the attacks from that single firewall. Let us look at how Jim identifies this using Firewall Analyzer. So we want to look, so Jim has to find out attacks on one specific firewall device. So for this, we'll be using the inventory report. And in the inventory report, say for example, let's go with the FortiGate firewall. We want to explore what are the attacks that have happened to the FortiGate firewall, and on clicking on it, we get the basic bandwidth usage or the live traffic status, and on expanding, you get the summary of the specific firewall device. You get a bandwidth report, detailed bandwidth report of the firewall device. You get the top 10 report, that is the top 10 hosts, destination, protocol groups for that specific FortiGate firewall device. You get a list of sites that have been accessed and allowed using that firewall device, the apps that have been accessed via the firewall device, the routes, the VPN connections, and finally the security statistics or the security reports of that specific firewall device. So from this, so since Jim wanted to know all about the attacks, we have to look at the security report for that specific firewall report. So for FortiGate firewall, we can see that there are not no attacks in this previous week, whereas there are a lot of denied hosts, a lot of virus attacks have taken place, and there are denied destination and the following other spams which have been generated. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah. So with this, Jim can clearly identify as to where the problem is, which is the host that have been infected with spam in that specific firewall, and make changes. He can go back to his firewall, make changes, and quarantine it so that these attacks are not happening in the future. So next is the firewall reports. So you can split firewall analyzer reports into two. First is the traffic analytics, and then it's the security analytics. Under traffic analytics, you get detailed traffic usage reports on different protocols, applications, cloud services, VPN, internet, and internet. Apart from this, you also get trend reports on VPN, protocol, events, and traffic. So let us look at how the traffic report looks in the product UI. So to access the traffic reports, under reports, click on firewall reports. So in firewall reports, as I mentioned before, firewall reports can be split into two. First is the traffic reports, which have, this is the traffic, this is the overall traffic report, and then you have again protocol usage report, web usage report, mail usage report, FTP, telnet, streaming and chat report, and you also get the internet and intranet reports, and you also get the trend reports, that is protocol trend and the traffic trend report. So with this, you'll be able to identify which specific hour of the day the bandwidth is maximum or the bandwidth is minimum, so that you can optimize it. So this is the traffic reports that are present in the firewall reports. So again, let us now look at a use case. In Jim's company, there is an unusual bandwidth shortage on a particular day, and the productivity is affected because of this. Jim has been asked to identify the user who's using the maximum bandwidth. Let us look at how Jim identifies this using Firewall Analyzer. So we need to identify that specific user who has been using the maximum bandwidth. For this, we can go to the traffic reports. So under the traffic reports, you get a list of top hosts who have sent the maximum data, top hosts who have received the maximum data, and top hosts who have used the maximum data. And you also get to know which protocol has been used to receive or send or use the specific data. But we want to find the specific user. So here is the report which tells you which specific user has occupied or has used most of the bandwidth. And if you look at it, this specific user called Shyamala has used nearly 94% of the bandwidth. That's huge. Not only that, if you click on Shyamala's traffic report, you also get to know the various websites and from which host and to which destination she has gone. With this, you get a complete picture as to check if Shyamala is using the company's bandwidth for business or non-business purposes. Having got that, Jim can go back to his firewall, make the necessary changes and take the necessary changes so that this is avoided in the future and the bandwidth is optimized. So next is the security analytics. So Firewall Analyzer provides a detailed security report on the following: attack reports and virus reports, top security events and denied events, top spans generated, failed logon details, and top denied URLs and their category. So let us again look at how the report looks, the product UI. Again, you need to go to reports, and this is again listed under the firewall reports itself. As I mentioned before, security analytics is part of the firewall reports. So here, if you look at it, here's the basic security report. You also get the virus report, which lists all the virus attacks that have happened. And next is the attack report, giving a high-level overview of all the attacks that have happened, the spam report, and the events report. So again, let us look at a use case for security analytics. So there have been a lot of attacks happening in Jim's company, and they want to know which protocol is being used by the hacker to attack the network. Let us look at how Jim identifies this using Firewall Analyzer. So for Jim, he needs to identify that specific protocol that is being used to attack. So let us look at the attack reports, and under attack reports, you get the list of top attackers, the top targets, and finally you also get top protocols used by attackers. So again, this is only for today. Let's drill down and check for the past 30 days which protocol is being maximum used to make the attacks. So if you can look at this, EPMAP, HTTPS are the two protocols which carry the maximum attacks, and the attack type is ARP poisoning. And there's one more type called UDP flood, which is again an unknown protocol. So with this, Jim gets a clear understanding as to what is the protocol and what is the type of attack that has happened in his network. So Jim can go back and quarantine the necessary, make the necessary changes in the firewall to quarantine and rectify. So Firewall Analyzer is also capable of analyzing the syslogs from script proxy servers, and it generates the following reports: the URL report, the top talkers report, the web details report, and the proxy usage report. So again, let us look at how this report looks in the product UI. So under reports, click on proxy reports, and under proxy reports you get the URL report. Again, let's look at last 7 days at least. So you get the list of URLs that have been accessed using the proxy server. You also get the proxy usage report, which gives the usage detail of the proxy server, and you get the website details. You get the list of websites that have been accessed using the proxy server, and finally you get also the top talkers, that is host and destination, that is the LAN users and LAN hosts that have used the proxy server to access the internet. So again, let us again go to a use case. So Jim has been assigned a task to find if there have been any proxy virus attacks in the system, and if so, they want to find the source of these attacks. Let us look at how Jim identifies this using Firewall Analyzer. So proxy virus attacks is something serious. Once infected, your host computer itself can act as an attack and attack the system outside or attack your systems inside your network. So here again, if you see, this is the proxy virus report. Here the data is not updated. So let us look at a sample screenshot. So if you look at this, you can clearly see the type of virus, the host, and the hit count. So with this, Jim can go back to his firewall, check which are the hosts that have been infected with the proxy virus, quarantine these specific hosts, and make sure the proxy virus is removed from the system or quarantined from the system. So if the predefined reports doesn't fit your needs, then customized reports will help you satisfy your requirement. So again, let us jump straight into use case for custom reports. Jim has been asked to identify which users have logged in via VPN. Let us look at how Jim can set custom reports for this using Firewall Analyzer. So we don't have a direct report for this, so we are going to create a custom report. So click on reports, and under report click on custom reports. And since we need to create a custom report profile, set a profile name for that specific report. And you can select multiple firewall devices or single firewall device. For now, I'm selecting all firewall devices and hit next. So with this custom report, you have two options. You can add a filter, that is, you can add an include or exclude filter. What is this for? What is the include filter for? Say, for example, you want to create reports or generate reports only for the marketing team, or only for the sales team, or only for the operations team. So you can only include certain set of people for which you can generate reports. So this is the include filter, and you can also have an exclude filter saying that, say for example, you don't want to monitor your top management, you don't want to generate reports for your CEOs, CFOs. So you can include, or you can add those specific users to the exclude filter. So currently we are not adding any include or exclude filter, we are jumping in directly into the reports. So we need to find, Jim needs to identify the users that have logged on via VPN. So we are going to again name this, and this report is based on VPN. So you can choose to display graph and table, or just a graph or a table. Not only that, you also get to decide the graph type. Say for example, you can choose from a pie chart, horizontal bar chart, stacked vertical bar chart, and a vertical bar chart. I'm going with a vertical bar chart because that will be representative of, it'll be easier to represent the VPN users using the vertical bar chart. The x-axis is going to be VPN, and the y-axis is going to be sum of total bytes. Sorry, the x-axis is going to be users, sum of total bytes, and the grouping criteria is going to be VPN, and let us order by the sum of total bytes, and click on OK. And click on OK. So once you do this, this specific report has been added, and now that you have added the custom report, you can click on next, and you can schedule the custom reports to be generated on a hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly basis, or you can also set a custom date. We are just going to generate this report once, and hence I'm clicking on once and click on next. So in case you want to schedule mail notifications, you can also do that. Report will be directly sent to your mail. For now, I'm clicking on disable and hitting on save. Once I hit on save, this custom report has been generated, and you can start. It starts to generate the report. So with this, we get to know the people who have logged in via the VPN and the total number of bytes that have been used by them using the VPN. So with this, Jim has again completed his task successfully by creating a custom report as per his need, so that he can submit this to his top management or whoever asks for this report. Okay, next is the search report. This is one of my favorite reports. The search reports help you perform forensic analysis after a certain period of time using the log. So there are two types of searches. First is the aggregated search, which provides information based on specific criteria over a period of time, hence the name aggregated. Then it's a raw search, which provides forensic log analysis from multiple activities. Now let us again jump into two use cases for these two searches. Okay, so let us look at a use case for aggregated search. Jim has been asked to identify the amount of bandwidth consumed by Tom. Let us look at how Jim identifies this using Firewall Analyzer. So this is the firewall. In the Firewall Analyzer, you click on search, and since the bandwidth consumed by Tom is an aggregated data, we're going to go with the aggregated search. So in aggregated search, enter the user is Tom, and once you click generate, you get a report on all the data that has been consumed by Tom, the events, or the number of events Tom has also generate or consume this data and the total number of bytes for that very specific event. So with this, Jim gets to identify a specific user who has consumed a specific amount of data for that day. Next, so now let us look at a use case for raw search. There have been a lot of attacks on Jim's network, and hence Jim has been asked to identify all the virus attacks in his network. So let us look at how Jim identifies this using Firewall Analyzer's raw search. Again, click on search, and under search click on raw search. And since we want to generate only virus attacks, we are going to select only the raw virus logs. So, and we're going to enter virus isn't null. With this search, you get to see all the virus attacks in the network that has happened today. And not only that, you can drill down to that very specific log which has been responsible for the attack. Hence, it is really helpful for forensic log analysis. So in case down the future you want to identify that specific log which was responsible for that specific attack, you can come back and you get to know that specific log using the search report. Okay, now half of the presentation is kind of over. We have one more half to go. But before that, having completed the log reports, we are sure that you would have doubts on many more use cases. And for in-depth explanation on how to tackle different scenarios and identify attacks using firewall logs, we are going to roll up a poll for you. So sign up for a personalized demo, and our technical experts will get in touch with you and help you out and give you a detailed explanation of how the firewall reports can be used in your network scenario. So yeah, this is the poll. Yeah, wait for a couple of minutes. I'll wait for a couple of minutes for you to fill the poll. And remember, we have a lot more to come after this. We will be covering the alarm management part of Firewall Analyzer after the poll. Waiting for your response. So now, as I mentioned before, we'll be covering the alarm management part of Firewall Analyzer. So we have come to the final section of this webinar. Setting alarm notifications is a very useful way to identify security events in real time. Firewall Analyzer has three types of alert profiles. First is the normal alert, anomaly alert, and the bandwidth alert. All alarms can be seen in the alarm sections in the product UI. Alarms, and these alarms can be notified directly into your email, directly into your phone as an SMS, or run a script. So before we set an alarm notification, we need to configure the mail server for sending alerts to your mail, or we need to also configure the SMS server for sending alerts to your phone as an SMS. Or to run a script, we need to create an executable program file, and when setting the alarm profile, you can upload the script file. For example, here we have shown a sample script to block BitTorrent like processes. So once a BitTorrent type attack is triggered, Firewall Analyzer will execute the script and block the BitTorrent processes. So as mentioned before, we can set three types of alarm profiles in Firewall Analyzer. First is the normal alert. So it is a real-time alert for a specific activity. Next is the anomaly alert, which is usually used when you want to notify about an event over a period of time. And finally, the bandwidth or threshold alert is an alert when you cross a specific bandwidth threshold. Now, again, let us jump into the use cases. Since there are a lot of ARP attacks happening in the network, the company wants Jim to identify ARP attacks at the very inception. Hence, Jim has been asked to set an alarm notification when 5 ARP attacks happen within 10 minutes of time. So let us look at how Jim sets this alarm using Firewall Analyzer. So click on Settings. Under Settings, under Others, click on Alarm Profiles and hit Add. And this will be going with the normal alert for this. You can select a specific firewall device. I've selected all the firewall devices. Set the profile name. So we need to identify ARP attacks, and so we're going to set virus/attack is ARP, and then we can set the priority as critical, trouble, or attention. For here, since this is an ARP attack, we're going to set it as critical and alert for every 5 events generated within 10 minutes. We can also assign an owner for whom the ticket can be assigned. And once you do this, click on Next. And as I mentioned before, apart from showing in the alarms UI, you'll also get a notification. So in case there's an attack, you'll get a notification directly to an email if you configure the mail server, or it'll be directly sent to your phone as an SMS, or you can run a script. For now, we're just going to see this in our alarms UI. So if you look at this, this alarm has been created, alarm profile has been created. So anytime there are 5 ARP attacks happening within 10 minutes of time, you will get an alert in the alarms UI. If you have configured your mail or your SMS, you'll get it directly, notification directly to your mail or your phone too. So next, so we have come to the final use case for the day. It has been noted that a specific user has been clogging a major part of bandwidth, and hence Jim has been assigned a task to trigger an alarm notification if this user John uses more than 1 GB in an hour. Now let us look at how Jim sets the alarm using Firewall Analyzer. So click on Settings, and under Others, click on Alarm Profiles. Since this is an alert over a period of time, we would use the anomaly alert and set this John. Okay, and click on Next. Now we're going to be monitoring John's traffic report, so let it be traffic report, and we need to set an alarm if John exceeds 1 GB within a period of 1 hour. So we're going to set alarm for that, and again we're going to change the priority to say attention, because this is not critical, this is just an attention, and we're going to hit Next. And as I mentioned before, we're going to do this just for once and hit Save. Once you do this, this alarm profile has been created. So in case John at any point uses 1 GB within the timing of 1 hour, an alarm will be generated, a mail will be triggered to you, or the alarm will be notified to you in your phone as an SMS. To summarize, Firewall Analyzer is a policy and configuration monitoring tool. It helps us identify policy anomalies, unused rules, and it also helps perform in-depth rule impact analysis for a proposed new rule. Thus, helps in optimizing firewall performance. It provides out-of-the-box compliance reports for SANS, PCI DSS, NIST, ISO, and NERC. The first 3 points were covered in our previous training held last week. So in this training, we cover the following points. That is, Firewall Analyzer provides a detailed security analytics that helps to identify threats, and in-depth traffic analytics that helps in user monitoring, and a search report which helps you perform forensic log analysis. With Firewall Analyzer, you can set a real-time alarm notification to your mail or to your phone, and thereby it helps to proactively identify and prevent security events. Finally, Firewall Analyzer supports all major firewall vendors. The next Q&A session will be taken by my technical expert, Suresh.
Hi, good morning all. My name is Suresh Kumar. I'll be taking you forward with the technical queries that are raised during the training session. I'll try to answer almost all of your queries. If I try to miss any of your queries, no need to worry about that. You can just send email to our support email ID, which is fwanalyzer-support@manageengine.com. And I hope the training was informative, and I feel like most of your queries would have got resolved. If you have any questions or any, if you want to have more information about the product, as my colleague said, you can just register for the demo so that we'll take you forward. Okay, let me quickly get into question number one. I want an alert if any source or destination utilizes more than specified bandwidth. How do I go about doing it? Yes, we have alerts option in Manage Engine Firewall Analyzer. Yes, there you can create a dedicated criteria in anomaly alert or else normal alert. If with respect to interfaces, we do have a bandwidth alert that works using SNLP. So in any of these scenarios, based upon your requirement, you can create your own criteria. So once the criteria is created, you can just wait for an alert. Once the criteria is met based upon the syslogs forwarded by your device, you'll be immediately receiving an alert. Let me quickly show you where you can find that particular option from the web UI of Firewall Analyzer. Okay, so if you go here right now, to get into this particular screen, you need to go to settings, and then under others, you'll be having an option called alarm profiles. Okay, currently you can see a lot of profiles got created. So these are the things that I have already created. And now if you want to add a new one for the bandwidth, you can just click on add. You can just give the profile name as test. So I'll hit next. So here I can enter the multiple criteria. For example, source is some IP address. It's like 1.1.1.1, and I'll add one more criteria. And here I'll go with destination is some 2.2.2, and I'll select the criteria as match all of the following. So not with or, I'll go with and privilege, and option. So here so once this part is done, so here I'll select the threshold values, critical or trouble. So and I select the alert for every one event generated in how many minutes of time. So this is one alert just to check the traffic based information. So in the same way, if you are specifically looking for any bandwidth, like how much of bandwidth sent or received in the same correct alert profile. You can just go with, you can just create anomaly alert. So as I said, we have three types of alerts here. You can just select traffic source, you can enter destination, here you can enter, and you can enter the threshold details. So in a period of time, if total traffic is exceeds how much the number you want to enter, you can just enter this. So once the criteria is met, you will be notified through your email. So once this part is done, you can you'll also got an option called bandwidth alert. So this is the main thing. So here in this bandwidth alert, you need to configure SNMP. Once this part is done, you can just hit next and you can create the alert specifically for the interfaces. So you can create a bandwidth alert for interfaces as well as source and destination. For source and destination, you can create a traffic based alert as I showed in the normal alert. And if you are looking for traffic based alert instance, if you from this source from to destination, if any traffic happens, I need an alert, so that will get fulfilled in normal alert. For the interface bandwidth, you can just go with bandwidth alert. For anomaly alert, as I said, as per your query, you can just create in a total of 1 hour. If a total bandwidth consumes 1 GB or 2 GB, you'll get notified. So when it comes to question number 2, Firewall Analyzer has sent hundreds of emails last night. Even though I want all the alarms to be captured by Firewall Analyzer, it would be good if my mailbox is not getting flooded. Yes. Here in this option, what you can do is, if you go to the alerts tab, here let me quickly go with normal alert. So just to show you what option, so I have created an alert for the traffic from this particular source to destination, one event in 1 minute of time. So once that part is done, I'll hit next. So here I'll send notification. Here I will select only for this day. I'll select so that send notification once and do not send for this day. So if I enable this option, you'll be avoiding that particular scenario where your mailbox will be avoided and the email will be received only once in a day. So here as that should get fulfilled. The same option will be available in almost all the alerts. So when it comes to question number 3, what are the notification options available in Firewall Analyzer? Yes, notification options, I can say, like when it comes to the change management, we do have an option called real-time change notification. Like we can schedule the change management report. In addition to that, we do have an option to receive an immediate alert whenever the change happens on your firewall. Apart from that, when I talk about, when I say notifications, yes, you will be get notified for almost for all the alert criteria. Once the alert criteria is met, you will be notified immediately. Once the only thing we'll check about check for the notification is whether the criteria is met or not based upon the syslog information forwarded by your firewall. So once the criteria is met, you will be notified immediately. In the same way, change management also will have an option to enable real-time change notification, using which you will be notified immediately. Live syslog viewer and Wireshark shows syslog but device not added. How to fix this? Yes, these are the most scenarios that we came across, come across in uh, technical queries. So what we will do is, if in live syslog if you are seeing packets, and in Wireshark if you are seeing packets, we need to check a few points here, like whether the logs are received in a valid format or not, or if yes, we need to check whether there is a proper time sync or there is any time difference between the firewall analyzer server and firewall. So if that is corrected, still if you are seeing issues, we need to check the debug logs to find out what is causing the issue. Then based upon the information available in the logs, we need to troubleshoot the issue accordingly. Is it possible to get trend reports in Firewall Analyzer? Yes, it is possible to get 10 reports in Firewall Analyzer. As if you remember, if you have gone to the training part, there is an option called reports. Under reports, we are providing total 25 plus default reports, out of which trend reports also included, like traffic trend reports, VPN trend reports, and many more. How can I create custom reports in Firewall Analyzer? Yes, apart from on-demand reports, we do have an option to create custom reports. Let me quickly show you how to create those particular reports. Go to Reports tab, and once you click on that, you can see a Custom Reports tab, and you need to create a Create Profile. So this is the option which you need to select. Once you click on Create Report Profiles, you need to enter the test profile name. Here you need to enter the test profile name, select the device, hit next, and what report you are looking for. If you are looking for VPN, to select VPN, you can just hit next, and how you want to schedule and how the report needs to be sent in PDF or CSV format. Select that particular details, hit next, and enter your email ID. So based upon your scheduled time period, the email will be sent to your email address. Can VPN use a specific start and end time be tracked? Yes. We have a specific report called VPN user session report. So where you can see the start and end time information, and not only that, you can see the user details and the VPN details information. Let me quickly show you what is that particular report is. Go to Reports tab, Custom Reports. I'm just checking whether we have any sample VPN user session report, so that it will be a very easy to so here VPN sessions is there. So let me quickly check. So if I click on this, so here you can see here. Let me quickly change the time period. So if you see here, I can see the device column, host column, user information, and start time, end time, and not only that, duration and sent and received. So in this way, you can generate the user transaction report as per your requirement. This can be generated from the schedule report also. Like we do have a VPN user session report over there, default report. By selecting that, you can generate this specific report accordingly. How to get user list for a specific URL access? Yes, the best option for this is the raw search report. So here you can enter the criteria with respect to user. You can just and the URL information. Just go with raw. So here go with raw search. Here once you select raw search, here you can enter the criteria. User is John, and enter the criteria. So here you want to see all the URLs visited by this particular user John. So here what you will be entering the criteria is URL is not null. So this is the criteria. Using this criteria, you can see what are all the URLs accessed by the user John. So once you click generate, the report will get generated. You can schedule it or you can generate by on demand. Okay, what I have explained is for all the URL access. If you are looking for specific URL, there is nothing much change here. You can enter the user is John, and you can enter the criteria URL contains facebook.com. So in this way, you can enter the criteria and you can generate the user based URL report. Not only one specific URL, you can generate all the URLs accessed by the user, one particular user. So how much hard disk, when it comes to question number 9, the question is how much hard disk is required to manage number of firewall. So yes, this is the question we'll be facing once the demo is completed. So here, when once the demo is completed, without configuring the firewall, we cannot promise how much of hard disk is required and how much of RAM is required and CPU. So once you install the product, once the firewall is configured, here we will check two things. One is data storage options and what are the flows we are receiving. So based upon these two things, we can analyze how much hard disk is required, how much RAM is required. So based upon the flow rate and data storage options, we will be providing you the hard disk information. Without those details, we cannot provide you the exact hard disk requirement as well as RAM and CPU. I hope I have answered all your queries. If I miss any of your queries, you can just send email to our support ID, which is fwanalyzer-support at manageengine.com. And if you have any support queries, you can directly call to our support ID, a support number, which is you can see on the screen. And you can, for any help related documents, you can just refer to our help document. You can see all the details like how to create a report, what types of reports are available, how to create a 10 report. So all these details are available. Thank you for all of your time. Let me quickly hand over to my colleague Molly, who will take you forward.
Thanks, Suresh. Hey guys, I'm back. So if you want to know more on firewall rules, policy, and ACL best practices, firewall change request process, or firewall change management best practices, and firewall compliance, download our latest free ebook on 10 firewall best practices for network security admins. The download link is also given here, that is ebooks.fwanalyzer.com. And we will be also sharing this link to you and via the PPT via mail. We have also deployed a new feature in Firewall Analyzer called the Rule Impact Analysis. We covered this in detail in the first session held last week. If you want to know more about this feature, you can read our latest blog called Rule Impact Analysis, New Dawn of Firewall Policy Planning. This again will be shared to you via mail. And if you want a detailed demo of the feature, please request for a personalized demo and our technical experts will get back to you. And we have more till date firewall analyzer, we have more exciting news, that is till date firewall analyzer has been an out and out reporting and monitoring tool. However, this is going to change. We will be introducing the rule push or the rule administration feature in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and with this you can directly push rules and configuration from firewall analyzer to your respective firewall device. Please follow us closely and get to know the exact date of release. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this was a useful training session. Please fill the survey and provide your rating for this presentation. Rating is in the scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. For any future training session, we will keep you posted. In case you want a more detailed explanation of the product, you can always request for a personalized demo. Thank you.